This episode of Bonfireside Chat is brought to you by our patrons at patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, as well as my Kickstarter backers. A real quick note, the music I used in editing this episode is actually from an OC Remix version of the Souls of Darkness soundtrack. It is still true that we have been unable to find a good rip of the original SuperStation soundtrack. So if anybody's listening and knows a good source for that, hit me up on Twitter. But until then, enjoy the episode. Thanks.
Some of our landings were desperate adventures. We are now prepared to meet the inevitable counterattacks with power and with confidence.
Who goes? Yes. Angle. They call me Angle the Corrupt. Family name, pay no mind. Let this one get you some eats.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Kole Ross.
My name is Nick Daniel.
And you're listening to Bonfireside Chat. It is a moonlit favorite.
Yes, and this week we are continuing our Season 7 coverage of Souls of Darkness, the spiritual predecessor to Dark Souls that was originally released for the SuperStation in 1991. And we are talking about the area Garbage Gulch. And as you heard, we are joined by Nick Daniel. Hey, Nick.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going.
I'm not sure I should say that.
Yeah. No, it is okay to ask. Yeah, so people listen to the show know Nick. We've talked some sugar about you before. Probably know you from your webcomic Latchkey Kingdom. Mm-hmm. And there's an arc on there that is very Dark Souls focused. So I know you're a big fan, so we wanted to get you on the show.
Couple, actually.
Yeah, and they're really cool. Like we've strong recommendation. Can you talk a little bit about how you got into Souls and how you decided to kind of incorporate that into your work and the like?
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, first, everyone was talking about Demon Souls when that came out, and I totally bounced off that when I tried it. Then the same thing happened to Dark Souls, and then except Bob Mackey actually got me to listen to you guys' podcast because I was like partway through Dark Souls, wasn't sure I was going to finish it, and because I got so interested in what you guys are saying, I did.
Oh, well, that's why.
Yeah. That, and also I happened to get laid off at a time when I was getting stuck on the Four Kings, and I was about to call it quits, but then, you get laid off, and it's like, I have a lot of time to finish these guys off.
Yes, what a coincidence that you got laid off at that time, just in time to get into the show. I'm sure I didn't have anything to do with that. Hey, Bob Mackey, Force for Good.
Yeah.
You guys went to college together, right?
Yeah. Youngstown State University, go Penguins. Yeah. He does not share that sentiment.
Yeah, no, I was just about to ask, do you hate your hometown as much as Bob does?
80% of his Facebook output is related.
I have the good fortune that Youngstown is not my hometown.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, I come from a family of itinerates, so, America is my hometown.
You can say the country itself with the character.
Yeah, the open road.
It is. It sounds like just knowing what Bob says on social media, it sounds like Youngstown is a real garbage gulch itself.
It's pretty much in direct competition with where my family ended up settling down, Flint, Michigan.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So you can drink the water in Youngstown, so that's
like
feather in its cap.
Yeah, has water.
It has water and also a surprising amount of mob connections.
Oh, they're proud of that there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So weird.
Youngstown is a mafia town.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the local mafia lords, Nick Daniel and Bob Mackey. Lords, is that the unit of promotion in the mafia?
Yep. It goes wise guy, Don, and then Lord.
Made man, made Lord.
And then God Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like from that movie.
Yeah.
The God Lord.
Yeah, the God Lord. How did you? So you've done kind of video game things in the comic as well before. So there's a Dark Souls one. I know there's a Shadow of the Colossus inspired one as well. Was it just like you were into it and just wanted to incorporate it, or was there something specifically about Dark Souls that made you want to kind of merge that with the stuff you were doing?
Well, I mean, it's just that it was totally cynical marketing. I was trying to get a lot of those big Dark Souls bucks. But I enjoyed playing the game, and I thought that it'd be fun to do some stuff connect to it. It's one of the few things I ever really want to do fan art of, because I'm really self-obsessed, so I mostly my fan arts of myself.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's like, Capra demons or something I like drawing. And I seem to have a particular problem with those guys because I'm always making them cop up as like that's the bullshit guy who shows up. He's way too hard for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think that's everyone's experience.
Oh wait, with Capra, that's a lot of people's
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
It's pretty common. It's a yeah. Yeah, I like that about your comic. I like that there's a one because talking to anybody else who just gets paid in souls bucks as opposed to regular money, you can exchange it, but the rate is terrible. But then also, that's kind of what we were already doing a show and wanted to kind of also incorporate Dark Souls into what we were doing.
Yeah,
it's kind of a similar thing. Yeah. So Cole, why don't you let us know what we did last time?
Well, the last episode, we crashed the skeleton party in the Forgotten Tomb and we gave the Marrowlord a spinal tap. And we got our first soul orb, right? So we hit that milestone. And now, off of that high, we go really, really low to this disgusting, smelly lake of sewage that is Garbage Gulch, to challenge the infant mother of all spiders.
Yeah, like how on every season of the show we talk about what area smells the worst. Like if this wasn't 8-bit, I think this would do it because like there's something about it. It's hard for a Nintendo game to look smelly, but if you could really use theater of the mind, I think this area would be a contender.
Yeah, it's mostly what you imagine that purple color is. Like, is it fetid pus or is it grape jelly?
Yeah. And what state of grape jelly? Like, is it like old grape? Like, because there's that smell of grape jelly, like that old sandwich smell.
No, it's you take the sandwich to school, but you leave it in your locker because you trade it for something else. Then the teacher gets mad at you. Yeah,
you eat like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich when you wrap it in a sandwich bag, and how it will just kind of form into one plastic object. Like the sandwich itself like melts and gets all discolored, and then the plastic fuses to it, and you just have this like floppy like knee pad kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's got the imprint of your Capri Sun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Garbage Gulch is like.
Yeah, no, like it's really convincing how they managed to kind of portray like a miasma here. Like it's like the color choices and it's like the low resolution really works because like, oh, that's organic, I think, and creeping up those walls. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't tell exactly what the thing is, but your mind kind of knows. And I think that this area specifically uses that really well. The kind of unsettling thing, similar to like Doom or something like that.
Yeah.
Which does something similar.
It actually kind of reminds me of like Axiom Verge, where it has like it's 8-bit, but it's also Cronenberg.
Yeah, that's a good point of comparison. Actually, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty
reminds of that.
Pretty adventurous for the era too.
Yeah, for sure.
Like Axiom Verge, like that's a modern take on this kind of thing. Like I don't know, like outside of the last level of Contra, I suppose.
Yeah,
you don't see as much like just kind of like, hey, here's an organic horror.
Yeah, on that in that era, and the sad thing, like when you're looking at it, so you see how far this has fallen, but it wasn't always that way, right?
Right.
So like it's one of these things when I imagine like you're a kid, you're playing this, you're not really paying attention. You go through this area and you think like, oh, this is gross, and you just fight a bunch of monsters and stuff. But then once you start digging in and kind of putting things together, like learn about the history of this place. Like it is just it's real tragic. So we know so talking about the kind of the backstory of this area. This used to be this kind of a valley or this plain known as Swanky Acres, and it was this suburb of Gilmore. And we'll be visiting Gilmore, or formerly Gilmore, a little bit later in the season. But after Gilmore kind of was laid to ruin, they became lax in their waste management practices and inadvertently created Garbage Gulch. Was it an accident? I don't know.
Yeah, it could be some kind of Chinatown situation. There's there's something happening with the waterworks.
We will find out as we go.
And it's funny because the rotting doesn't just happen from within. They're kind of in this really bad neighborhood, right? They're pretty close to the demon run, right?
Yeah.
And so like once this place became kind of like weakened and overcome, it became this feeding ground for again the infant mother of all spiders. And I really want to like shake the hand of the person who translated that.
Yeah. Like, I wonder what the direct translation is. I want to see if Body ever gets around to doing one of those lost in translation videos for this. If he ever gets to the prequels, because the idea of that being something like ancestor shook hands with all of the children of legs or something like that. Like, I just like the idea of that being a really long, unwieldy title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it makes sense. Like she's got these agents that are kind of like running around here and, you know, like making matters worse by kidnapping people who, you know, are kind of coming down trying to, you know, see if anything is left over. Right.
Yeah. And you get the sense of it just being this kind of like honey trap, you know, and appropriately enough, like a spider's web, like similar to, you know, to what we saw with Blighttown, right? Like where, you know, it's a clear inspiration where there's this spider creature who's bringing people in for a specific reason, except here it's people who want to loot this area that was once really prosperous. And move. Like, don't live here, man. Like it is full of feces, and there's a demon spider that comes and kidnaps people.
But you know,
out.
Yeah, that's why I kind of find I use the term honey trap, because like that's it's sticky definitely, but I wouldn't consider any of this sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just oh man, I got a memory back of a time that I lost my shoe in a lake bed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was at my grandparents live in this cottage at a lake, and the water level was really low, and I saw like stuff sticking out of the mud, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna walk out there. Like, how often do you get to walk on the bottom of a lake? And it turns out there's a reason. Like, you know, I lost a tennis shoe and somebody had to come get me out because like I was sinking into my knees, and that's what this feels like. I don't know. This is a nostalgic time for me.
I'm imagining like looking down, like you do that and you don't actually quite see what the object is until you lose your shoe. And then you can finally see with clarity, and it's just miles of children's shoes. Like just like thousands of children have lost their shoes there, which like is somehow unnerving, but I don't know why, because it's not that scary. Just get shoes.
Yeah, well, also, I mean, like if you need free shoes, it's pretty convenient. If you just lost one, we could find a replacement.
I'm not going to turn my nose up at that. Come on.
No, hey, free shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this area, like we've been doing this whole season, every area kind of has a thesis, and this is the best we've come up with here is this is an area where you're kind of getting attacked from both sides. The very air and the earth are both trying to kill you. Yeah. And then later there's like a dollop or a cherry on top of arachnophobia at the end, as this is like the highest spider quotient per SuperStation game that I've ever seen.
Yeah. Oh man, and just the way they animate them, like you have to love that low fidelity animation. They had just enough detail to make them like skitter. You know, really move quick. We're gonna get to that, but like it's kind of otherworldly.
There's a good skitter. It reminds me, they're using. I feel like, and I don't know how much of this was intentional, but like they're using the limitation of that, and it has that kind of Jacob's ladder effect because the animation doesn't have that many frames, so it feels like they're going through this mechanical kind of like lurching cycle over and over. But it feels like a Tool video or something. Like it is like a modern mislooped animation kind of thing.
Well, what's funny is too, like they stand stock still. Like there's no idle standing animation. So like when they pick up, it's just like a frenzy of motion, then they stop. Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah.
So there's kind of two ways to get here, right?
Yeah.
Which is like not my favorite thing. You can either kind of follow this winding grave path from the Forgotten Tomb, which is the way that we did it, or there's this kind of bullshit like one-way shortcut if you go the other way from Hydration Nation, which is what Gilmore was, but we'll talk about it later in the season.
Right.
But we're going to cover this area as if you went through the proper path, which I think is what the developers intended, but you know there's a lot of different little secrety ways. Is that how you guys got here, or did you guys end up going other ways?
I actually was about level 6, and I got in through the bullshit way, and had to end up restarting.
Yeah,
like, you got trapped. Yeah,
that's the worst. Like, because if you once you hit that that campfire, like that's it. You know, so you can't die and get back out, and like unless you take the long way, and that's really tricky at that level. Like,
yeah, well, I just don't know if there's a way to deal with the poison at that level, because it like your health bar is gone like zip.
Yeah, like there's a movement tax that you have to like explicitly prepare for, and I have to wonder what they're trying to communicate by putting that one way, kind of that trap there for you. Like what are they communicating to a new player when they get there?
Yeah, and it's a good question. I think it's like if you played it before and you know what you're doing, it saves you a lot of trouble, right? Like you can skip a lot of bullshit. If you don't know what you're doing, you are just getting trapped. And unless that's just fitting in with the spider theming, you know, like it's just you fell down a pit, and like there are spiders that form little pits, right?
Oh, like box spiders, I think.
Yeah.
Like that's a thing. Maybe that's the idea, right? Like,
oh yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, any spider, it's catching you in a web that you didn't see.
Yeah, oh yeah, exactly. You don't know it's there. That's
Yeah.
like, this looks cool.
Yeah. Well, I just like like my story here. I did the exact same thing. Like I just wandered because that was the path that kind of seemed the most apparent to me. So
Well, it's a big red switch. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Like for the most part, if you see a lever, you pull it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, and this is just one of those situations where maybe you wish that you hadn't.
Yeah.
And you can still not go down there, and you can see it from there too. Like there's a little bit of the ledge where you can kind of, but this is an area where, like, if this were a modern game, the graphical fidelity would help, because at that point it just looks like a brown streak. And like, that could be a fun forest. That could be that could be any number of things. That could be like a cool mud puddle. Any number of things I want to visit.
Yeah. A cool mud puddle. Let's do
When
some
you say
splashing.
brown streak, that's not exactly the thing I'm thinking of visiting.
Well, to each his own.
Just makes it seem like in retrospect I should have seen it coming.
So, but if you go down so a lot of people listening probably went down the bullshit way, and this might have been like a restart point, like Nick, or it could have just been a real struggle and made you hate this area, because this is not a particularly popular area. Like I've come to like it, like I've come to like all the area, like I get it, I like it, but it's not, it's definitely frustrating. If you come the main way, it's a lot easier, not least of which because there's a campfire like right there, which is really generous there.
Yeah. And that like that's good. It serves as a really good home base, because like you are caught off guard right away as you start kind of like walking across this this kind of land that is transitioning into the swamp, and you see these corpses, right?
Yeah.
Oh, boom, fuck you. Here are some spiders.
Yeah. Like, because you've been trained at this point, like, to associate corpses with items. Like you look there, they've got the little sparkle on them, so they have an item, and then you get close, and then bam, these like double spiders. Like, I can't tell if they were meant to be like have 16 or 15 legs, or if it's they just kind of made legs until they ran out of space to make legs. But these things, like, you can't. It's really hard to just go down, like, because again, like, drawing comparisons to Blighttown, like one of the things in Dark Souls I like to run down, and I wonder if this is where they got the idea, because you can go to Blighttown really early and get a bunch of souls. It's a really good place to do these little suicide runs for solid soul items. And here, when you're going and trying to pick up things, you're punished for it, right? Like they're inverting that thing. Like they're kind of like mimics in that way almost.
Yeah. And like there's just enough of a delay on it. Like it's almost like they're waiting for you to turn your back so you can't defend yourself, right? And like what happened to me was I found myself in over my head. Right. Like I would pick up a couple, and then just by the time I was, 3 corpses in, I had 3 of these things on my tail.
Mm-hmm.
You also think saying that like mimics is being a little generous, because like mimic's not going to catch you the second time.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, like, I'd be going back to my souls, and then bam, right again.
Yeah. It's because some of them are like they put in false positives in there too. Like I think this is another place where form like got better as the time went on, because with the graphic fidelity, they're able to they don't have these kind of gotcha things. Like there are little telltale signs. Here there aren't, as far as I can tell, anything to tell them apart. So like you could just be going for regular treasure, and then one burst open, and they chain burst as well. So like if one of them's near another one, that one will burst out as well, and it's really easy to get overwhelmed, like Kole said.
Yeah.
So it's real rough. In the guide, this is called the Fetid Fields, which is, again, move. Like it's real gross. Unless there's like name for John Fetid, who like used to live here.
Yeah. The Gilmore Fetids, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There's only a couple of other enemies here, and they're way easier to deal with.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because they're like turrets. You got these poisoned curse ones, right? Again, something I love. We talked about this in Dark Souls 2, with the undead and the Shrine of Amana. But like the idea that they're undergoing this mutation, and their kind of circumstances steer that. So these poison guys, they fell down the cliff. From Hydration Nation, and their legs are broken, so all they can do is kind of spit poison at you.
Yeah,
and they're kind of like it's pretty great, because you can see you can kind of see in the animation the ripple around them. They're trying to come after you, but they're like embedded in the muck.
Yeah, which that's super sad.
Yeah,
right. Like your guy's cursed. This could happen to you theoretically.
Yeah. So how did you guys deal with the constant poison effect? Because at least in my first playthrough, I didn't, explicitly seek out and prepare for this particular status effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd say after I got screwed over by that the shortcut way in, I was just consulting FAQ for everything. So I had a Black Church anti-poison set.
Yeah. It's hard, like, because you can get to the Church with No Name beforehand, where you get that a little bit earlier than that. And I tried to do that, but it was before I could comfortably parry. And the discredited, like the priest guys, that's kind of how you deal with them. So I was having a hard time because it was before I figured it out.
Yeah.
And having, this is definitely a controller thing, right? So like having the parry on both buttons is like, it doesn't always fire consistently for me, I think.
Yeah.
So.
No, I definitely I stocked up on anecdotes with this. I went to the priest who did the healing, who had the healing words, and I captured a couple of his stories in a bottle, and that kind of got me through. But you're really stretching that out.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that the game kind of puts in that panacea, right? Because like the way that they want you to go to Bloodroot and get the blue herb thing and cure poison, but then if you actually talk to that priest and you exhaust his dialogue, and you can actually get those stories that just kind of cure all.
Right.
That's a really cool way to do it. And it helps you out in like other areas as well. Like when you start running into extra poison and start running into people who give you, the other kind of other status effects. Poison is definitely the status effect, the marquee status effect here, though.
Yeah.
Sure.
Definitely. But if you are kind of tenacious with this, and if you kind of taking your time and looking and not running like hell from these 16-legged spiders like I was, you can actually find a really useful item, the long pike, in the hollow of a log.
Yeah, which is a really good weapon. Like it's got like the length is crazy, and you can keep things away really, really well.
Way longer than that log, actually.
Yeah.
Which is why it was so poorly hidden. I like that.
Yeah. It's like just this clown log, or like a standard magician's log.
It's like Pee-wee's bike lock box.
Yeah. Bike lock
I
log.
think at this point, I was kind of disappointed when the log came off the pike. I thought it was going to be a log on a stick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, like a cool hammer thing.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah, which would have been good back in the forest where those guys take extra wood damage.
Yeah, yeah. Like the and unfortunately, this is just so the weapon it's really it's good. It depends on what area you're kind of doing. So some enemies have kind of hitboxes that don't work for it. It's got a very thin kind of hurt box to it. But if you can line it up, like it works really, really well. And if you can find somebody who's actually weak to front stabs, it works really well for that too. It's got extra pierce.
Yeah, and these frantic spiders, like it feels like they are prone to like scampering right into the hurt box as it's out. Like it hangs out just long enough. Like it feels like this is the secret key to at least this part of the level.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and that's the thing too, because this game has that reputation. Same thing with all the Souls games, where it has this reputation for being hard, but the developers will give you this kind of leg up. So like or 8 legs up, as it were, where they'll give you the item that you need when you need it as kind of a clue. So we run into an NPC here. You kind of go through these fields, and eventually you run into this little shack there, and you're checking it out. You're exploring this rundown shack, and we run into our first NPC of the area, which is Angle. So you go in here, and it kind of looks like he blends into the background a little bit at first. There's this kind of crouched, wizened, real like shithead. Like when you find out what you actually, when you get the full story on this guy, like he's one of the worst people in the game.
Right.
Like this guy is the worst.
Yeah.
But for now, it's okay. Like you think he's okay, and he offers to heal you. And at this point you probably need it, right? Like it's been a little while through you fought these poison guys, and you had there, but it's a good thing not to do so.
Yeah, because if you rest at this, this I think is kind of some bullshit. Because
totally.
Yeah, because like everything is training you. You see a campfire and like I need to run toward this, right? Like you relish when you swap screens and it moves over and then there it is. Right.
Yeah.
And so you go and hit this, and then what happens? He abducts you and takes you directly to the boss at half health. So like this is something.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. So here's the thing, right? So you're right, Cole. It is bullshit. But Nick, you're right then to not do it, because this is one of the things where there actually is a level of fidelity where there's a clue. So he's got the bonfire in his house, which is already a little weird. But if you look at it, the bonfire or the campfires are orange for the most part. This one has some blue in it. There are some blue pixels to it, and I think that's the kind of clue that whatever poison is in it or whatever thing, knockout gas or what have you. But it's super easy to miss. Like, I'm not calling you out.
That isn't what I picked up on. I thought that Angle guy looks. I actually thought he was like Trusty Tom in disguise.
Yeah, well, he very well could have.
That character portrait looks a little bit like him, I thought.
Yeah, he kind of looks a little bit like it. I could totally see that as well. But like, it's easy again if you're like a kid, you're playing this, like, you're not expecting this kind of thing.
No,
like this might be the first game I can remember where people lie to you.
Yeah, like, and you're gonna trust a game. Like, we called BioShock really, really revolutionary because of like, oh, it plays with, are you going to do whatever the game tells you to do? But like, this is a super early example. I think almost like too early, because I don't know, like, I didn't get it right away. Like, until you really need to like dig in to find out like what his motivation is. And as it stood, I was just angry.
It's really hard to also put myself in the mind of like a kid who played this when it came out. Right.
Yeah.
Like, because I didn't. I played as an adult. I had all my Souls knowledge. I know, like, oh, don't trust this person.
Yeah, right.
Like, don't kill them if they're standing still. Don't trust them if they say words. And like, I know those two golden rules.
Right.
And but if you're like a kid going to this, and again, I'm not calling you out. Like, this is not the first in a series of me.
Oh, you
like,
stupid kids!
Like calling you a kid. But like, if you're a kid seeing this, like, I can't imagine. Like, you probably thought that was just how you did it.
Right. So like, think about it this way. If you're a kid and you do this, you might not even realize there's a whole level here. And you're gonna miss, like, okay, just like, this is a really weird short level that ends in a very difficult boss. I remember, so I heard a lot of kids talking about this on the playground, right? Like late elementary school, like early middle school. I didn't have a SuperStation, so it was just one of those ones that I missed until it was brought out on the virtual console here. But like, I heard people talking about this, like, kind of this exact same thing. And when I got to it, like, it didn't even come to my mind, because it sounds like one of those horseshit things a kid would make up to like get you to believe, like, oh, my uncle who works for the SuperStation company told me so and so. Like, it just it kind of defies what you expect from a game.
Totally. Yeah, it's 100% and kind of bullshit and really harsh.
Yeah. So like, and this, another thing that kind of sucks about this is, like, this is the canonical way to play too, right? It's been codified. Like, when you watch like Autumn Games Done Quick, they always take this because they're able to skip a large portion of the level to get their times down.
Yeah, you can make, if you know what you're doing, between the shortcut from Hydration Nation and this, like, you can get to the boss really, really fast.
Yeah, it's like a free soul orb.
Yeah, and even if I'm not speed running it, I do that just because it's like I've seen all this stuff and I don't need any of the items here.
Right.
Like, you see one bloated shitting corpse, like, actively in the act of defecating into a pile of also defecation.
And what's weird is, no matter how much it shits, it doesn't get any less bloated.
It is. It's like a bag of holding. It's like a elemental gate.
Yeah, it's a portal to the gate to the elemental plane of shit.
The very plane of shit. Yeah. This guy, so we learn a little bit about this guy. There's some items around his. If you come back here later after he's gone, like, you can kind of ransack his house, and there are a couple of other items that allude to him. So you kind of learn a little bit about this guy, and if you get those items that allude to him first, you maybe know not to trust him as well. Mm-hmm. So he's used to work for Gilmore and used to take care of all of their waste management there, but unfortunately he signed a mysterious dark contract. And it had this series of dread ordinances that refers to. Mm-hmm. And then this, that is kind of implied to be the person who turned this suburb, Waking Acres, into what it is now.
Yeah.
I just kind of signed it. So it is like, there are all these parallels to, towns now where, like, they just kind of become the waste runoff section.
Yeah. Until they move Springfield. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the whole thing has a real Springfield vibe to it. Like, the whole story with, like, the interrelation between Garbage Gulch and Gilmore sounds like something that would happen to the denizens of Springfield.
Yeah.
Well, or to be rather timely about it, it's Flint, Michigan's happening over there.
Yeah.
It just goes to show, when there comes up a vote for comptroller, you should get invested.
Yeah, I think that all of us could learn from Souls of Darkness and get more involved in civics.
Yeah, that's the message. Like, it makes me think like there would be like a line of educational things for when this game came out that like, told you that, like a little flashcard that was like a picture of Lunarius, and he's just like, get into astronomy today, kids. like to learn about tides. Don't be like me. So we recommend not resting at this campfire.
Right.
So don't do that because it's really hard unless you know what you're doing.
Mhm.
If you don't, you'd have to take the kind of long way past what the guide calls the toxic pool.
So this is a huge lake that is filled with filth, and like so this would have been like the town's water source, right? Like this is where they would have, you know, it's kind of goofy to look at an 8-bit game and, you know, ascribe this you know, again, kind of like civic planning sense to it, but like it shows up in other areas, so that makes this like even more tragic a little bit to see what this has turned into. It's filled with these slime skimmers, right? That holy shit, they're fast.
Yeah, and that's kind of their thing, is that like kind of do these hit and runs. And they're really quick. And I think that these guys are here, it's a little bit of a troll, because if you have the long pike, they're really hard to hit with that. Like you want a sweeping weapon, not a stabbing weapon for these things. You can kind of hit them, like dead angle them from the side.
Yeah, I had to change my loadout for these guys because you know, normally I just rock the biggest club I can find. But I
It's
just
too
had to
slow.
go with like way too slow.
Yeah.
Did you figure out that if you held in the opposite direction of where you wanted to attack, you would do an overhead attack as opposed to the sweeping one?
What?
No, it's
Yeah,
like an alternate move kind of thing.
That's pretty
I'll
rad.
try this.
Yeah.
Can we stop this so I can try that out?
Yeah.
No, go check it out. Like it wasn't in the manual. But yeah, it's totally something that a couple of different weapons have. It's like it was like halfway implemented. But yeah, if you're relying on this, I know this because I was doing kind of the same thing. I thought, hey, a big weapon's going to get these guys, and that totally that overhead strike is not the way you want to do it.
I think, and there's not anything that I saw, like it didn't have all of them listed in the guide, but I think it's the boss weapons that do that.
Okay.
So if you have like the big club, like at this point, you have the Fetid Warden's Club, and that one that has that special alternate move set, but it's not all clubs that do it. So I messed around. So when I was first playing this, I had the long pike because it's so good for the other things, and spent a long time trying to unlock a sweeping attack, and there's nothing of the sort.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a bummer. For our purposes, the only real reason to go here, it's just that, you know, this real like an optional area off the side on the way, is because if we're following Heimel's quest, this is another step on that long, bewildering, you know, multi-step puzzle.
Yeah, the like backtracks. Like you find him at the end and you have to work your way back. Like it's very counterintuitive.
Yeah. So Heimel, we'll talk about his whole story when we actually get to his end.
Yeah, when we find him for the first time. Yeah.
Yeah. Or when we find him for the last time.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So the you know, we mentioned him a little bit, but we kind of have to follow him from place to place. And this kind of mid-step. So we find him, he's on this little sandbar in the middle of the pool, and you talk to him, and he's lost his wife's opal tiara on the outskirts of the pool. So we can give it to him, and if we give it to him, he will try to swim back, but actually drown. Because if you look at him, he's wearing this really heavy kind of bulbous armor here, which is real goofy, for one. And I haven't figured out a way to get it.
You would think for as round as it is, it would be more buoyant.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't, he's been stuffing it with rocks and weights or something. Like he's leading down with gold or something. But
maybe he really is actually, I mean, no, it's kind of like, it's really spherical shape, but I mean, you know, given what we've seen of some of the people in this game, I mean, he could be filling that out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. He could be Cortising it up. It's a real trick, right? Because again, this area is really hostile. Where like the game just says, like an NPC says, "Hey, do this," and you were trained to just do the thing without questioning it. And if you do it, the NPCs will die. Right. And you don't get anything for it. It just his quest line ends. We need him to be able to breathe underwater to do it. Yeah. So you can give him the Rotted Eye of Wade if you got that from, and again, that encourages you coming from the shortcut from Hydration Nation. So if you have an extra one of those, you can give him that and he can breathe underwater and he will live, but you will get the bad ending for the quest.
Mm-hmm.
He'll kind of throw himself into the combat without regard for himself and die.
Yeah, and it's worthwhile to keep that tiara. Like this is this is something that makes a different build possible, because it reduces the mana cost of something by 10%. So like, you know, some of those bosses, those extra casts, like, are just necessary.
Yeah. And you can get this good quest, and just the idea that you have to like not give this guy what he wants for him to win out is really cool.
Yeah.
Like he needs to have something to look for, right? Like that's the central part of it. I mean, again, we'll talk about it later, but like that's the central thing of his character. Like if you stop giving him a reason to be out and about, it's like how retirement is the number one killer of people, you know? Like we you know, Heimel cannot retire. You cannot actually give him his quest object. You have to give him a way to keep going without giving him, you know, taking away his goal.
Right.
You know, so it's again super cool, but like God help you if you figured it out.
Yeah, so nuanced, right? Like
it is. Yeah, no kid's gonna figure this out in a million years.
Right.
You know, again, just super playgroundy.
Yeah. So kind of beyond him and you like what he will run into if he decides to start fighting, or what he is like trying to swim to when he dies, you find these other enemies, these breathless, which are these huge ogres, that are throwing. Gary, tell me if I'm wrong. Like they're rocks, but they kind of look like big soft serves, like kind of Isaac-y a little bit.
It does remind me of Isaac. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big soft serves.
Yeah.
I love it when you call me big soft serve.
Also, it's, you know, not just any. It's chocolate soft serve, very clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, except for bits of corn.
Down at the chocolate swamp.
Ugh.
That phrase.
The chocolate swamp sounds like an Eastern Kentucky like ice cream shack.
It's repulsive. These guys can, like, if you're not equipped, like they can two-shot you pretty easily. These like boulders of either soft serve or hard serve, or like whatever we want to call this serve. However they're serving you. Nick, how did you deal with these guys when you first came up against them? Because I found them to be a real wall.
Mostly I swore. I'd swear a lot. Yeah. You know, it's really just getting down the that sort of swervy step. You know, it's you know when they tell you you're being sniped at, serpentine.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
it's that little life lesson applies here apparently.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there is a bit of a delay on where they're shooting, even though they are aiming ahead of you, but
yeah,
you know, it's like it's still the slime takes time to fly. So
yeah.
Like
there's
not huge tracking on it. Yeah.
No, like they kind of lead the shot, and the way that I got around this, it's kind of funny. If you can juke one of them into throwing it at the other, they are susceptible to their double poison. Yeah,
and then you just kind of have to wait it out.
Right. So like you get one to hit the other, and then you kind of juke the other one to hit it, because like they don't die immediately, right? And so if you can just move, you don't have to make like a direct beeline toward them.
And I imagine like the kind of the best way, because I ended up just running like hell. Like I didn't end up. I was like, I don't want to deal with this. This is optional. I don't have to do this. This is an off season, damn it. Yeah. So the but if you do both of them, that would kind of work best. Like right. Like so you do this kind of serpentine motion, so they throw into each other. If you know, and then if you know, it just takes one of them to die. Like there's no meter since they're not players. You don't know that they're dying from poison, but one of them dies, you can kind of figure it out. Yeah. And hopefully make your way through there. Right before the area where we're heading to the boss is this area with the dying tenement, which is a real, again, kind of this is where like imagine people lived when they were here. So it's close to the source of water, and this is just like an ambush area. There are lots of regular cursed rather than the poison cursed, but they are hidden. They are hidden behind walls, hidden around corners.
Lots of like bamboo Murphy beds. It looks like almost. Yeah, like when they start jumping out of the walls and stuff, it really like it gives you the sense that like these houses are attacking you. Here's what's funny, because like you see this here, and then like Valley of Defilement all the way up through the gutter, right? Like how are these stilt houses not rotted?
I don't know. they're cured. Like they're it's like they've been tanned.
Well, that's the cursed lumber.
Yeah, yeah.
I
The
mean,
lumber
if
itself is being
Curse can
cursed.
keep a person around, maybe it can keep lumber around.
The lumber keeps rotting and coming back to life at the campfire, and then they have to carry it back and rebuild their house.
Before it burns. You have to be really quick.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, think about this. Think about like if there was some kind of corruption in the construction industry, like you could make forever houses. You could make you could make structures that would never rot or fall down or anything, but you had to do it out of trees that were planted over top of somebody who was cursed. Like the sapling had to like absorb from the cursed flesh of the person, kind of like a deadly premonition kind of thing, right?
It sounds like an Alasia thing. Like it sounds like because we get those rings in there that they end up using the orphan souls.
Yeah.
Or because like that's the kind of like evil contracting that happens in on that island.
Yeah, like there's very little in the text. Like this is more of a headcanon kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
but that's a cool idea.
Yeah,
for sure. And the other thing that makes this hard is there are these sturges here, these flying sturges that kind of zip in from the corner of the screen.
Yeah, on their motorcycles.
Yeah. These guys are essentially here to like stun lock you so these weak enemies can dogpile you.
Yeah.
So you just had the trick here is just like blocking. You're gonna be in place. It's gonna be more or less you're stun locked if you just block because you're still in one place. You want to dodge roll.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's funny because like a lot of this game up to this point has been about like throwing like one or two enemies at you. And like a strong enemy that you have to like take your time and kind of do a little dance with. Like, the idea that they are piling these weak enemies onto you like kind of fundamentally changes the rhythm of the game for this area.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe, for my money, like, my favorite spots of all the Souls games have been where like there've been a lot of guys like piling up on me at once, and I had to learn to manage them. So I was actually really digging this area.
Yeah, I could see it. Like if you back up and take your time, or if you have a distance weapon, or like a ranged weapon, so you can draw them out. I could see this, being pretty manageable. And that's similar to what I did. I'm bad at parrying, but I'm good at dodging, so I end up kind of getting up in there. But there's multiple ways to to deal with it. It doesn't like leave you without a method, which is super cool.
Yeah.
The next area, and then as you kind of get closer to this, their ultimate goal, there's a really cool little lore detail that I really like, because you start running into more of these breathless monsters, these ogres. But these ones, since they're further away from the lake, their rocks don't do poison.
Right.
So they still hurt really bad, but these ones don't. Like it's like proximity to this lake of filth that makes enemies poison. Yeah. And these cursed that they're in the tenement don't cause poison either.
Yeah. So like
maybe it's like a pumice rock, it absorbs poison that way.
Yeah, like it's like soaked. Yeah, like it's a sponge kind of thing. Yeah.
No, it sucks because like it's weird going back to a 2D game because like you don't get the sense that you're going through higher ground, but this is a great way to like communicate that indirectly. And also like this makes these guys to my mind like much harder to deal with than the ones who do double poison, because you don't have that kind of opportunity to cheese them. They're like they'll hit each other, but like not in a way that
their resistance is really high. Their physical resistance. Yeah. So like if you come through as a caster, like you're A-okay. If you come here, as any class, if you're dealing the poison ones, you can handle it. But these ones are hard if you're just a sword and board character.
Yeah.
The other thing is like on the way. So before we actually get to the demon's vestibule, like on the to actually finish the area off, there are also these little caves off to the side.
Yeah.
That we should talk about. Most of them are empty or just contain some monsters, but there are a couple of them that are noteworthy.
Yeah, I actually missed these on my first go through. Like I had to go back and look at the guide to see. They hide the path really well, kind of with some foliage sprites. And I didn't realize there were as many as there were.
Yeah. There's surprisingly a lot. Yeah. Like and you get the sense that these were maybe not there when it was a city. Like maybe these are places where people took refuge after things started going bad.
Oh yeah.
Like the flood's coming. Let's take higher ground.
Yeah.
And kind of be in these caves up on the walls.
Yeah. So there's a poisoned cursed one that is guarding a resplendent drought, which is so necessary at this point.
Yeah. Which is it's a total heal, like a full heal, status effects. Yeah. Replenishes because all your spells. All your mana, like it does everything that you want. But once you go in there, there's actually an NPC, like a hostile NPC here, which we were into Trashbag Helga. And and she's positioned to kind of appear once you pick up this drought. So that's a real fuck you. And she's not too bad, but she is really intimidating. And we don't know very much about her. Like, is this just like a citizen who has an unfortunate nickname, or?
So what's funny is like it's hard to tell because of the way she looks, but like when you look at her head, they're like it's shaped kind of weird, like it kind of like flops around a bit. She's wearing something over her head, but it's roughly the same shade or color as the skin of the cursed of the poison curse ones. Yeah. So is that like a skin? Is she masking herself with a face?
Oh, geez.
That's pretty, I don't know, grim for a game that came out when it did.
Yeah. What's under there? That's awful.
No.
That's super gross. How did you deal with her, Nick? How did you, or did you find her? Like, did you find these caves? Because they're optional, as we mentioned.
Yeah, I found her. I was actually getting the impression more that it's like, I thought her head looked a little weird, but I thought that like the trash bag was like, she didn't have a raincoat situation. So it was like wearing the chest. I mean, like it's hard to, you're really low fidelity there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like most things, I just turtle up and wait for the long string so I can hit her with the club.
Yeah.
Where I was at, it took like 2-3 hits.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you come back here later, she's definitely easier.
Yeah.
So she's got a kind of a cool, unique weapon, that she tries to use. So and if you kill her, she doesn't drop it. She just drops experience. But if you are actually able to kind of roll out of the way, or like Nick did, like kind of back up and counter strike with the club, you can actually buy her armor and her weapon, the Butcher Blade, back from Zalem, in the Cursed Hamlet.
Yeah.
And this is kind of a cool weapon, because it's not remarkable as far as moveset or anything, but every time you strike, it heals you a little bit, which is kind of cool. And I couldn't tell because we don't see her life bar. I don't know if that happens when she hits you, but I imagine it does.
Yeah. Well, like she's so aggressive and like she takes so few hits that like I can't imagine it drawing out. Like this is a fight that is kind of decided in the first couple of moves.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for
sure. After you're done kind of treasure hunting, you kind of walk to the end here and you can go to the Demon's Vestibule. And this is where you're teleported by Engel. If you go here through that route, but you're past the haunted static of Greer at this point. So there's no getting out. Right. You either opt into that or you're teleported past it.
There's a cool visual effect here. There's this spider kind of figure on the floor, which is wonderful. Like, is it foreshadowing if it's like just about to happen? I guess just theming.
Yeah, and it's got that shadow, right? This kind of like that suggestion. But then if you look close, there's actually the floor kind of moves a little bit as if you're walking on hundreds of spiders. Like these like little bits. It reminds me of that Temple of Doom.
I can't tell you how long I spent trying to attack the floor.
yeah. Like, and just nothing happens. Like I'm imagining like in a modern game, like you'd get like a cool sound effect and stuff. But here it just one kind of little, noise wave, noise track versus another. Like it doesn't sound that different, but
right. Yeah. But this starts the boss fight with the infant mother of all spiders.
Yes. I like this fight. This is super cool. So the infant mother of all spiders, this is one of the demon sisters who tried to fight against the curse.
Right.
And she maintains the demon's vestibule in order to kind of gather food for her young and her family, who we'll be meeting in the next episode when we actually talk about the demon's run.
Yeah.
But before that, we have to actually fight her and take her soul orb.
Right. And so this fight is about kind of like area denial, right? She is going to kind of use these this aspect of the floor to like herd you into her attack kind of range.
Yeah, and it's super tricky. Like when you end up stepping on that stuff, you get stuck, you get slowed down, and that allows her to kind of close in, either shoot you with her magic attack or kind of jump towards you to engage you in melee. So super tricky. She's got this kind of 3-jump combo that she does, where she jumps like a perfect triangle around you, like a triforce around you, and then shoots magic. And depending on, you kind of have to see where she starts to know which way to dodge, and kind of guess, like project her 3 moves ahead, because it's really quick. So if she starts in the lower right corner of the triangle, she's going to jump to the top of the triangle and then the lower left and then shoot. So that's where the attack's going to come from. And it took me a long time to learn that pattern, but like once you have it, it's really satisfying.
Yeah. So Nick, how did your kind of like club approach work with her this time?
Well, I mean, it's like, first off, not very well, really. Because, you're just like, by the time you're done with an attack, she's already like sticking up the floor, so you're not dodging anything after that. I found what really helped was bringing a summon on this. A lot
of people use their summon on this. Like you just get the one, and this is a really popular. It's like this and Paidstein and Corgus are the 2 that people use it for.
So my understanding is whoever you summon for, that boss gets harder, right? Like they have like an extra behavior that they throw in. I was it's kind of like the too good to use syndrome. I beat my head against this, and I was saving it for PNC. But is that true here? Like how does her behavior change?
I think that she ends up, so the magic attack that she does, so when she does the triple thing, it goes out the back end as well. So it kind of shoots in 2 directions, which is still pretty easy to dodge, but you can kind of see that it's meant specifically if you're distracting her while your partner comes up behind her to kind of hit her from behind. Yeah. They're going to get a face full of magic. And then everything else is just kind of a little bit enhanced, right? Like she just moves a little bit faster.
Spiders.
More spiders, totally. Yeah. Like more spiders, more webbing. There, and she just moves a little faster.
There might be like a little ambient slowing of your movement from all the spiders on the ground. I'm not sure if that was maybe that was just lag. From all the effects.
Well, there's so many effects. Like it's going to do a slowdown here, and it's having the enemy like actually slow you down and having slowdown makes it really hard to tell what's exactly going on.
Like, it got crazy, like getting frame rates of like 3. 2.
Yeah. And you, this is an 8-bit system, so you get that flicker too, and it gets hard to like determine where the pain is coming from, because it's kind of a dick move, but there are so many spiders, and they're even like up the walls of this kind of cave that you're in. If you get too near the edge of the arena, they're going to like jump out and attack you, and they'll give you single poison, which is just really like kind of a fuck you, I think,
because you're already dealing with so much.
Yeah.
Also, with all the double poison, you have to keep switching, what you're using to cure.
Yeah, like if you're out of anecdotes at this point, then it really gets to be problematic.
Yeah, because I mean the menu system is not super elegant.
No,
right? Like it's like this is a thing where like the lack of buttons really hurts the game. Where you're literally going into the menu. But that's a thing that would follow form like up through like the Prince Field, right? Like that's something that has been a thing up until Demon Souls.
Yeah, I mean, like it's kind of a we're going back, and you have to give games the benefit of the doubt, but like pressing up and B to differentiate a regular attack, like that is not intuitive. Outside of like a Castlevania kind of thing, like in a top-down kind of game, it gets really hard to like map that in my mind, I think.
It kind of made me wish that there was like a PC port, or it was like a PC game where you could just have keyboard shortcuts.
Yeah.
Well, like there's a way to do that.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Like, I mean, that's the dirty secret we haven't mentioned, is that like none of us are the 5 richest kings of Europe that can afford an actual card of this. So we've all emulated it, which like I don't feel great about, but I'm give me a way to buy it.
Yep.
Like put it on the virtual console and I will buy it. But until then, like it is.
And like this is one of the few instances where like ROM hacks are like being used to make a game easier. Like it's weird like how much collective fan will has gone into kind of like adapting this and updating it, but they're like I wanted to get the original experience. I didn't want to kind of use the hacks to make this easier to use.
Well, it's part of like our like if we're going back and looking at it, if it's got, we have to look at it warts and all, Yeah, but I mean, it's really just those kind of sets of attacks. Like the melee attacks that she has are not super hard to dodge. Like she sweeps in from the right, and then from the left, and then overhead, and then you have like a period, where you can attack her, kind of with abandon. If you do things wrong, this can be a really early boss though. Like you can get here really fast, as we mentioned, through that shortcut. And in that case, it's just too much. Like the poison's going to take you out through there. If you come here, at the appropriate time, I don't think this is in like the hardest bosses, but it still took me a bunch of tries to get there. And luckily, there's that shortcut. There's that bridge you can knock over from the outskirts. Yeah, kind of a campfire to make a run here pretty quick.
Oh, and you can also put the ladder in the toxic pool.
Yeah, and that'll do it. Man, I haven't thought about trying that with Heimel. I wonder if that would change. I mean, probably not, but I wonder if that would change if he drowns, if there's a ladder there.
Yeah, I don't know if he can get to it. It's pretty far away from him.
Yeah,
and you only have the one ladder, so you want to make sure you want to make sure it counts.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So this is Heimel we're dealing with.
Yeah, well, exactly. Like he's like I as a man of carriage, I also don't like exerting myself. The going up ladders is not my favorite. I'm kind of scared of going up a ladder, like you like a house ladder where it's not a ladder, it's just leaned up against the house.
Yeah, what do you do when you get to the top?
Shit freaks me out.
Dude, get on top of the roof.
Well, I guess there's just one answer for that. Yeah, but it is just like it's. I don't necessarily trust the friction to just hold it in place.
That reminds me of one time I was actually climbing the cable antenna for our house. I don't remember. There was something wrong with it that I thought needed fixing. But yeah, I got vertigo with really quickly. I think the angled ladder is actually way easier to deal with.
Yeah, like with those aerials, you really have to trust the contractor who bolted that in.
I
wasn't even like a floor, story up, and I was freaking out on that thing. So.
It sounds like the first step in like some kind of accident that would turn you into an electrocuted cartoon skeleton. Like I'm just imagining you climbing up it and then just
yeah.
When you said electrocute, I was thinking superpowers.
Yeah, I was thinking like Gremlins too. Like you get a little bit of that lightning DNA.
It's a lot less fun than superpowers.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was. I mean, I guess like I don't want to see you actually get electrocuted. Listen, we had a lot of fun talking about Nick getting electrocuted, but in real life, we don't want Nick to get electrocuted.
See, when it happens to Clark Griswold, it's okay, but
yeah, exactly. In fact, it's good.
Yeah, that's because he's really Chevy Chase, who's a terrible person.
Yeah, we didn't know, but the karma was catching up to him in reverse. Like that's why he never got to make out with the Ferrari girl. Because he's a terrible person on the set of Community. Yeah, but so I mean, so eventually you just kind of stay strong. You can summon help here. You can just kind of get around the patterns and stuff. Regardless of which, eventually you take her down. And I love this effect because we saw this the floor effect of all the spiders, and I love it like them leaving. Like the center of the room, there's like a kind of a hole, and it opens away. This movement just kind of sweeps away.
Yeah,
it's like spider wipe to just a bare floor because they have all left.
Yeah, and then like the room gets like really quiet. Like I didn't even notice the sound when it was there. Like especially into the music that pops up, but like it's just dreadfully silent.
Yeah. For sure.
I guess you guys weren't staying too close to that hole because it's like there's actually kind of a conveyor belt effect if you get like close to where they're all leaving.
Oh wow! They carry you away.
It's a really fuck you way to go.
Yeah. Oh jeez.
Wait a minute. Did it get you? Does she respawn? Like does she revive using your corpse as fuel? Like what?
Yeah. I mean, it's like it actually like that message with the monster slain just gets crossed right out.
Jesus Christ!
Wow, that's something I want to be the guy level shit.
Yeah. I imagine like it, and it, so it, like yeah. That's I'm glad that did not happen to me. I think you're like positioned not to be near it, but it's a brutal Easter egg.
Yeah.
It is like Souls of Darkness, brutal Easter egg.
It's full of blood and teeth.
Bloodster egg. But yeah, after you kill her, you can take from her corpse her soul orb. So we're halfway there.
Fortunately, that gets embedded. That's not dragged in by all the rest of the spiders.
Oh yeah, that would be, boy, if you had to chase them down, like a madcap scene from Ratatouille or something. Like you had to chase them through a kitchen.
Well, I know I saw that. Well, there was a rumor, and like this is content from the cutting room floor. But like if you do go down that hole, I'm just putting the pieces together because they talked about the vengeful orphans. Yeah, like it was originally planned that they would form into a spider golem and attack you.
Oh man,
if you follow them down, but they didn't have time to implement it.
Yeah, that would have been incredible. Yeah, like because that's the thing is when you get to the next area, when we get to the Demon's Run, like this area feels unfinished. Like and that feels like part of that, right? Like this area doesn't have as much. Like there's a lot of cool stuff in this area, but enemies from other areas show up, and it has that kind of tone to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that would have been a cool, and it definitely feels like one boss short too. Like, and that would have been a really good use of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also like it would connect better because the Demon Run is supposed to be below this, and like it never made sense that you climb up another ladder, but you're actually like in some kind of crazy lava filled landscape below it.
No, that doesn't make any sense at all.
No,
that's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean it ruined my immersion.
Yeah.
I mean, but we're gonna check it out. We're gonna talk about all that stuff. We don't want to burn too much cast with that. So yeah, next episode we'll be doing that. But for this episode, Nick, thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Thanks. I feel like I did anything.
No, not at all. I mean, that's probably our fault for being jabberjaws. But no, we definitely appreciate it.
Well, it's you know what? It's better for me because I listen to this while I exercise and stuff, and it'll be really distracting hearing my own voice. So
yeah.
Good, I don't say anything.
You never get used to it. Yeah. Where can people find you online, Nick?
LatchkeyKingdom.com.
And do it.
Yes. Yeah. And there's also a Patreon. Just click the button for the Patreon or something. Give me money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Read the comic. Give me money.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Like, come on, guys. Are you even listening?
You sound like a Wario that makes comics. Like it's no, it is recommended.
That's disturbingly close. Yeah. I do tend to make them in 8-second segments.
Yeah. Nick Daniel micro comics mega games. The recommended, people who have listened to the show forever have heard us talk about stuff you do. And you were a sponsor for a couple of episodes as well. And
the first sponsor. When I asked you about sponsorship, you guys were all confused.
Like, wait a minute, what? What
does that word mean? Yeah, which is awesome though too, because we haven't had any sponsorship from anything we don't like when we've managed to just do that. I love Audible.
There's nothing wrong with the idea of audiobooks.
Yeah, Audible's fine, but like
I
we
love
haven't
Audible too. It's better than reading.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, I just mean we haven't had to shill for loot box or anything, and you were the beginning of our just doing, just saying nice things about things we actually like. So happy about that. So next episode, as we mentioned, we're talking about the Demon's Run. If you have any responses or anything you want to say about that, you can hit us up at Duckfeed.tv /contact. Still trying to put the guest together for that. I think that we might have Jeremy Greer on.
Oh, that fucker.
Yeah. I'm not super. He's a backup of a backup.
Yeah, people seem to like him though. So
yeah. But we'll see. I'm still holding out for my first and second and third choices.
Yeah.
So we'll find out. Other than that, though, if you want to help out the show, you can find us at patreon.com /DuckFeed.tv.
And also we're on Facebook at facebook.com /bonfireside chat.
And I think that's probably about it.
Think so.
This has been fun. Thanks again, Nick.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yes,
I have no idea what to say when people say thanks to me.
Yeah.
Midwestern niceties and all that.
Just say, "Aw shucks."
Aw shucks. That works.
I'll just assume you're winking. So until next time, Cole, what should they do?
They should watch out for my fan art of the Vengeful Orphan.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
And we all pray that we will have far more soon